hall, you could assemble a tent outside in this activity field and the function can flow from one to the other. We put the kitchen right in the center so that it's accessible from all areas. So if somebody wanted to set up a buffet table out here in the atrium, they could set up a buffet here and have all the seating here, or maybe have cocktails in this garden. And this also, this front garden isn't just to walk through, but it can also be a program space that you can actually use as a function as well, and use for functions. And I wanted to create verandas. So this is a front veranda on the assembly hall. And here, we have a sunken patio on the prayer hall side, which I'll show you in the next slides a better view of those. And for future expansion, it's very simple here. The future expansion, we have this hallway here, can come right here. Unfortunately, you lose the garden, but it allows you to build classrooms in the future as well. And there's about 20 feet of space before the property line here, so you could build this out much further than to accommodate for whatever you needed out there. You could also build in this direction, off the main assembly hall, or in this direction here, which unfortunately you lose the front garden, but if you really needed the space, you have the ability to build onto this building in 3 different directions. So this is a rendering showing the prayer hall here. Once again, you can see it's not a massive building, so it's a building, a very comfortable building that's on a human scale that us humans can understand and relate to. But I didn't want to do a boring building. I wanted to do something that's still interesting and unique and that represents our architecture, our traditional architecture. So this is the overhang. This is the prayer hall here. This is the Gumbad Tower. These are the high windows which let the light in. There's one larger window here which lets more light into the prayer hall. And here in the back you'll see the assembly hall here. And once again there's a large overhang on the assembly hall, so you have a covered veranda. This is an aerial view, so you get a sense of what it would look like, and a sense of the massing. Again, this is the prayer hall. This is the front garden, which you walk through to enter the building. And this is the assembly hall here. The activity field is out here. You can see the covered veranda, and then the sunken patio here. This is the atrium, and then this is the services block, which is the toilets and kitchen. And just in the back here, you can see a little bit about what that back patio would look like. This is a view of the front patio. This is a rough sketch of what I intend here. So some paving, some benches, and then a garden area in front here. And then this is some sort of a sculpture which you can see a larger detail of that here. And this is the side elevation right here, looking from the activity field. So we have these large windows and doors that look out onto the activity field and also let people flow out if there's a larger function. And then here you get a front shot of the assembly building here with the prayer hall here as well. And to conclude, I just wanted to show a few pictures of things I referenced when I was designing the building. So this is the Valle now, sorry. So you can see the back courtyard here with the well. And it's a very small space, but it's a very pleasing space because it has all these different architectural buildings that make up the space. So when I was designing the center here, I envisioned this space and something with more paving like this, and the space where people can gather and meet. This is the front veranda. This is in Surat, the white area there. And you can see these reliefs here, the rosettes and the railings. And what I forgot to show, right here, so there'll be a far here. And up here also you see the rosettes here. I imagine that this will be some sort of a screen that has the firewood in the center and some rosettes or something, some decoration on the side. And the pitched roofs, this is the Muvada, or Atas Brown Muvada. So most of our architecture in India, of course, has the pitched roofs. But I like that feeling of the pitched roofs because it makes it feel like a comfortable building rather than flat roof. And the pitched roofs are more practical as well and less expensive. So I kept this idea of keeping the pitched roofs, and even here you can see the two separate buildings. The Gumbad Tower is very similar to something like this. And then this is a building in Surat. So you can see the open veranda and how useful and how beautiful a space that is. So I kept the idea of the open veranda, but I changed it a little bit by having the pitch ceiling in a different way, in a different direction, as you can see right here. So here you have your open veranda here, and your open veranda here as well. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Before we go any further, I want to open up for questions and answers, because Sarah's covered a lot, and I'm sure there's several questions. We're hoping that there's several questions.
Yeah, I have a question. Have you thought about having solar panels on the roof?
Yes. The question was if we thought about having solar panels on the roof. It's certainly something that we can investigate. My experience with solar up till this time is that it's a great concept, but it's still very expensive technology. And for a building that's used every day, it makes a lot of sense because you can recover that cost. But for a building that's used maybe 3 or 4 times a week, for maybe a few hours at a time, the use on it isn't so high, so that it takes much longer to recover that cost. But it's certainly something that we'll look into a little bit further if it's practical.
Do you have a question?
Yes?
Just to get an idea of scale,
Uh-huh.
what is the size of the assembly hall?
The assembly hall is 50 foot by 50 foot. And I was anticipating that question, so I did a quick calculation of how big this hall is. And this hall, I think, is about 40 foot by 50 foot. So it's going to be, in this direction, it's probably about 50 feet. So if you imagine a square about as big as it is in this direction. So, oh, the ceiling height is much higher than this. This ceiling height is too low for this large of a space. So the ceiling in the assembly hall is actually going to be an arched ceiling. And at the sides, it'll be about 12 feet. And at the middle, it'll be about 16 feet. Yes?
You mentioned that there's going to be large windows on one side of it.
Yes, on the assembly hall.
Are they going to be like French windows that you can walk out of?
Yes, well, there'll be floor-to-ceiling glass, and then there'll be doors in here as well. So not necessarily French doors, but there'll be enough access for people to come in and out freely. Yes?
You mentioned that you made sure that the architecture made sense in the setting that it's in. So what are some of the points of this architecture that make sense for its place in North America?
In its place in North America? Well, the question was, how does this building relate to our architecture in North America? Well, once again, I didn't want to do flat roofs. I wanted the primary facade right here to look similar to residential architecture. So I've used standard building materials. This right here is intended to be some sort of stone. On this building, we're going to use stucco with some wood siding. So it's a combination of the materials, the scale of the building, and then the shapes that we're using the building in. This is a typical shape for a residential house. So taking that shape, but doing it in a little bit different way to make it something other than just a residential house. And then, once again, like I said, the materials. So we just have regular shingle sloped roofs, the stone, stucco, and the wood siding as well. Any other question?
One more question.
Yes?
How many parking spaces are they going to be?
Right now, we have about 40 parking spaces in the lot, plus another 35 parking spaces in the overflow on the grass. So a total of about 70 parking spaces. And that's all regulated by the township. Other questions?
Thank you.
My pleasure. Once again, it's a great... It is a privilege to work for the community to be able to have this opportunity to build this building. So I really appreciate your input as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cyrus Ben, I'm here to talk about the fundraising for zacuce. Right now, our total building projected costs are $1.5